Hi, it's Randy Rhodes. Hope you enjoy this free clip from Political Voices Network.
The Republican Party was saying in the North Carolina court and then the US Supreme Court is that state legislatures can write all of the rules for elections any way they want. They don't have to care about their own constitution. They don't have to care about their own courts. So this case was about gerrymandering and election maps, but the ultimate theory is about everything. It's about voting hours, absentee ballots, anything involving an election. And the Republicans were saying, courts, you have no business doing anything. It's just raw political power that will decide this. That's a crazy theory. If you know anything about American history, our whole system is based on checks and balances. But going up into this argument, a lot of people thought that we would lose. Even after the argument, Joy, I mean, one of the hardest things for me was that all the people that claimed to be on my side went and told the Supreme Court they lacked the jurisdiction to hear this case, and they were afraid and wanted to get it out of the court. And, those arguments were so wrong, so misguided, and they stand as a really powerful lesson that if you carefully study and take seriously United States Supreme Court decisions, litigants can win cases that stand up for our democracy, even in this court.
But you got to understand that there are three in this one that thought, yeah, sure, fine. You want to suppress and subvert? Go for it, because the American people are so stupid. They're so inconsequential. They matter so little to us and our agenda of being, corporations are people, my friend, and money should come rolling into us too in Citizens United. Every billionaire should have their very own Supreme Court justice. We have a few of them still for sale if you'd like to purchase. Some of them are, they're not really, really interested in the whole slavery thing. They're not really interested in being owned by billionaires, but I'm sure there's a point at which they will surrender their individuality or their opinions, and they will submit to the awesome power of billionaire dollars. You still have Ketanji Brown Jackson, who declared Oprah's flowers, because when Oprah sends flowers, she sends the very best. And so it was like $1,200 worth of a flower arrangement. And Ketanji Brown Jackson, on her financial disclosure form, which requires her to report gifts, she actually reported that. I think it was Sonia Sotomayor, or Eleanor Kagan. Somebody gave bagels, and the bagels had, like nice sable. Yeah, had like $20 worth of sable, which is better than lox. I mean, it's good, really, really good. And she declared that these people over here, like by my mother's house, I don't need to tell anybody about any of that. Now we find out that Alito, who did decide Roe, Leonard Leo has surrounded his particular billionaire-owned justices, surrounded them with parties and like-minded people and Federalist Society events and Heritage Foundation events and friends that are all like-minded, and dinners, and gives them awards and makes them feel prestigious in their own little micro world. And talks them into believing that, women don't have the right to privacy. Only men do. And surely you can see that. So Alito was the author of this thing. And then Alito had the nerve. Think about this, okay? He said somebody leaked the Roe v. Wade decision to interfere with it, okay? And it caused the justices who signed on to sending Roe back to the states. This is the whole independent legislature theory, right? Only the states can decide things that, are obviously civil rights under the U.S. Constitution, equal protection under the only states can decide. So then he said that the justices who were willing to do that, to send what was federally protected rights of women, equal protection under law for women, back to the states, that their lives were in danger, right? That people were threatening the lives of Alito and Clarence and other Supremes. And he said it was because somebody leaked that decision. And yet, when it was time for him to actually go find out who and how that decision got leaked, he chose not to engage any law enforcement. even though their lives have been threatened, according to him. No, he chose to do it himself with absolutely zero expertise in detective work or law enforcement or nothing. I mean, they have absolutely nothing. They don't even have a person who's in charge of stuff like that at the Supreme Court. But his life was in such danger. So you know that these people are disingenuous at the very best, liars at the worst. But he's the one that wrote Roe. Now we're finding out that in their world, something that is unethical isn't necessarily illegal, and therefore it's doable. So we found out that Clarence is, befriended by Leonard Leo's buddy, Harlan Crow, and Harlan Crow is going to put, Justice Thomas's grandnephew or some such crap through boarding school and through private school. And he's going to buy his mother's house and make sure she's never burdened with a rent payment or a mortgage payment or a tax payment or anything connected to home ownership in her latter years, to take it off of Clarence's plate, something he doesn't even have to tend to, right? And then we find out that, what's his face took a fishing trip. Alito took a fishing trip, right? A fishing trip that was paid for by a guy who had 10 different cases involving his hedge fund, Paul Singer's hedge fund, in front of the Supreme Court, and nobody ever recused themselves from hearing those 10 cases. Now we're finding out, and then we found out Judge Roberts' wife actually recruits lawyers for law firms who will argue cases in front of her husband, right? So she vets them to see if they're smart enough to keep up with her husband and, prevail. And now we find out that Alito's wife also is making money in the oil and gas business off of a 160-acre plot of land in Grady County, Oklahoma, which she leased to an oil and gas company that is actually running a pipeline on her land, and she is garnering, I think it's 3/16 of every penny that they make in profit on that pipeline. So it's a little less than a quarter of the profit. Now, when you're talking, multiple millions of dollars, a quarter of the profit is, ask any real estate agent. That's a good haul.